I can see him. You could see him. I'm not sure he can see me, but we're going to power through this. So if it's a bit weird, if I feel like I'm a bit slow or something, I'm just trying to, because we don't have the visual, I'm overcompensating. Not the first time in my life that's been an issue. So let's get the show on the road. I'm just going to hand it over. Jimmy Maddon. Who the fuck is Jimmy Maddon, you ask? Yes.
The question
I'll let the man
on everyone's lips.
Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Depending on who you ask, possibly a bit of a prat. If you ask me, a rock star the world's not found yet. I think Wembley keeps losing my invite. But no, a rather decent musician.
There's a few around. There's a few around. So you've been doing this for a long time.
Telling me. Feels like yesterday I started, man.
Yeah, but always learning, always improving, yeah?
I think, yeah, well, yeah, I think every day you tend to find something new you didn't know beforehand, and try and work into your repertoire somewhere.
Exactly. So let's, so you're currently performing as a solo artist, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, yep.
Yeah, has that been the majority of your musical career? Have you been in and out of bands?
Not really, funny enough. I mean, when I was in school and stuff like that, we had like a band, you know, and we sort of knocked around with some songs and stuff like that. But for the most part, I've been so busy. Sort of, I'd love to be in a band at some point or put together. I'd love to do something like a bit of a super group or something like, you know, some musicians and stuff around Sheffield. But no, at the moment, it's still just my own thing. I think ego's only got so much size.
Yeah, that was yeah, when I used to do kind of what you do, yeah, that was the big problem. Bands are great if it wasn't for the bandmates who.
No, it's funny because I think, you know, being solo for so long, I'm so used to knowing exactly what I want to do and what sound I want to take out. So, you know, when it sort of gets to the studio, I'm not great at letting go sometimes. So it might be good for me to do something like that. But at the moment, very much clear on the direction at the moment.
Which is good. Good to have good to have focus. Good to have goals. Speaking of which, what's the plan? Have you got? Have you got an end game in mind for this? Have you got?
Yeah. Well, it's always to play Wembley Stadium. And I think if I could sort of appear on Graham Norton or something, I'd probably consider that to be quite a treat. Yeah, I'm constantly being interviewed by him in my head. You know, but he's not replied to any of my tweets yet.
No, no, you're better off it. You can swear and everything on here, so it's much better.
Oh,
yeah, no, yeah, say what you like. You were like, so what's So I mean, obviously, because I usually ask, is there like some kind of milestone landmark, you know, pure fantasy dream, maybe like a venue you'd like to play? I think we've just covered that.
Yeah, but my view is if you're gonna do it big, boisterous, and you know what I mean. Like, you always got to be over the top.
Yeah. I mean, look, I gotta say this: if you check out this guy, kids, this is Jimmy Maddon. I do this to make sure people know. This is Jimmy Maddon. He does what I wanted to do. If I was at least a slightly better guitarist, and if I could sing at all, I would be you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Seriously, no, that's because the idea of I never got on with the like acoustic solo type thing, mainly because I don't think my voice was ever good enough to carry that. I think I could get away with the punk rock, noisy, distorted 3-piece band thing. But for an acoustic show, I felt like my voice was never good enough for that. But what I felt like what I had in my head, if I was ever gonna do it, I was still gonna do it. I was gonna have the hair, and I was gonna wear the outfit, and I was gonna still sling it low down. I wasn't gonna be some boring old fart in a cardigan on a stool, you know. So
Yeah, I think
just because it's solo or whatever doesn't mean it has to be, you know. It doesn't have to be Dylan. As great as Dylan is.
no, I definitely think like the imagery is a lot of it. And just to answer the zombies at Sheffield, there, I am local. Well, not originally from England, but local in Sheffield. Yeah, I think the visual's so important, and you know, when I sort of work with like younger bands, musicians, or talking about what they want to do, it's always about, you know, if you think about the great bands that had a look, you know, even from as ABBA and the extremes of ABBA and oh, my fiance's just joined, so hello, Grace. You know, from ABBA to Kiss, early Queen, I've all had a look. It's all been over the top and everything, and you know, Ed Sheeran can kind of get away with this, like his look is like no look, like Nirvana had.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that the imagery sells it, and I think reminds people the amount of times I've gone to venues and, you know, for a show and going, oh, I played here a couple of months ago, and go, you know, I was going like the Jim Morrison leather trousers and you know, the stilettos and platform shoes and stuff like that. And they go, oh, well, yes, that's right. You know, so I think the imagery is, particularly with music now and social media being such an important facet of what you're doing, and you know, the look. You know, you need to use it to cut above. You need to use it to cut above the rest, because at the end of the day, better guitarists out there, better singers out there, but arguably not a better dresser.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the first to try to jump on things for being image over content. I must admit, you have to be able to back it up. If you're going to go up there and you've got with that look, like I said, it can somewhat compensate for other areas you may be slightly lacking, but
Yeah,
you can't be a garbage guitar player and a fucking tone deaf singer, and however fantastic you look. Well, at least I like to think you won't
yeah.
get too far.
No, and I definitely sort of think as well. There's a lot of, um, you know, I think that there's a lot of in music. There's so many parts. So like when you're in the studio, you can tighten everything up, you know. And anyone who's ever heard a live album in their life, it's a lie. You know, even Thin Lizzy's great live album, I reckon 8% of that was redone in the studio after. Studio life is a very different beast to being on stage, and I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the studio for that reason. And it's dry, and it's in a booth on your own, or the guitar on your own in another room, you know.
Yep.
I mean, I love playing live. You know, I cut my teeth playing live, and you know, was playing 2-3 times a night in the early days where I could, you know, sort of thing, just driving around from venue to venue. But you know, you can get away with it in the studio, maybe not having the talent, and perhaps you can make the argument about myself. But you know, I think if you can do it live or put on a good show, it's what people remember. And at the end of the day, people are paying either for the record, but more particularly live. They're paying a lot to come out of their way. You got to give them something more than just a brilliant, voice.
Yeah, it's a show. I think that is the thing that is
It's
kind of
yeah, it's a
being
concept
a little bit
production.
forgotten. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a show to put on. I always felt. I mean, I never wanted to, you know, I never wanted to choreograph, you know, any of my moves or anything. Like I had moves, but you know, but I did want to. Once I had enough confidence, I did certainly want to just relax and let myself go and get into it, and you know, take a little bit of a wander around the stage and a little bit of a headbang here and a little bit of a devil horns there, or you know, whatever. Just, I mean, I've seen footage back and it's like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, like
yeah. I've watched myself back. I try not to watch myself back in video too much now, because the amount of dancing I do. It's funny. I never used to move like in the early days. I was very rigid, like a sort of. I sort of mentioned this, and someone will have to comment about the documentary. It was like I was playing the rigor mortis, which all joke about Johnny Cash. And a good friend of mine, who was the first guy to get me on radio many years ago now, it said to me, it's like, you've got to move around. So I started to relax and loosen up a bit. And I think I'm taking it to the other extreme now, but sort of Elvis meets Freddie Mercury love child that probably no one really actually asked for.
So, so with that beautiful image in mind, um, aside from that, for anybody for anybody watching this, either now or later when it's recorded, and just discovering the wonder that is Jimmy Maddon, before they go off and listen to your back catalogue, how would you how would you describe your music? I know I know
um,
everybody. I know we hate labels. We hate being put in these genres. And yeah,
I
I mean,
think
I've listened to your stuff, and you do straddle some, various different genres, which is great, which I always like to hear when I discover somebody new. But yeah, because we have to do that because it's a thing. Sell yourself. 30 seconds. What does Jimmy Madden sound like? What are we in
oh,
for?
look, I'll be honest. I've said this since day one. I'm a shit Queen tribute band. Queen are in every potential facet the Bible for me, the musical Bible. Anything they've done, I've tried to do, even to building my own guitar like Brian May did. So, you know, I think it's very a lot of Queen. I mean, there's a lot of weird influences. Like I'm a very, I love opera. There's probably a bit of a Queen influence there, and stuff like that. So I'm always trying to bring those sort of layers in. I think, You're Only One Dance Away was really unique in the fact that I used the synthesizer. Fucking hell, I need to struggle on that one. Because I've always been very big on I don't need the synthesizer. I can do it all on the guitar. And I can build these arrangements and stuff. And it was really a song that I had to sort of, delve into sort of synthesizer work. And got this lovely woman called Corey, who's been my oldest friend since I got here. And she runs the studio, and that's where I record. And she's got this brilliant knack for knowing what to put on records and, when to probably rein me in, maybe a bit too much. But it's always very, I'm always kind of sort of thinking to the next thing. Like I've got this sort of 1920s sort of vaudeville type song that I'm working on at the moment. Sort of you can imagine like John Dillinger, his background to his sort of life sort of thing. So, I'm always trying something different because I want to have fun with it. Like at the end of the day, obviously we want all to sell, but I want to be able to have fun doing the music that I want to do and hope people come along for the ride. Because I think you can easily get caught up in just trying to have the hit and have the commercialism and something will land in ads or movies or something like that. But at the end of the day, I've got to play these fucking songs every night, so I want to be playing something that's keeping me interested as much as the audience.
Yeah, I think that's often biggest the biggest influence I think we have in a lot of ways. Like the impetus to make music is that there's the music you like, and I'm just trying to make music. You make it for yourself first and foremost, regardless, not just the therapy of lyrically dealing with whatever shit it is you might be dealing with, breakups or fucking whatever. Um,
Clearly,
but
been listening to my music.
but also just that you want to make music that you would want to listen to,
Yeah,
especially if there is a bit of a gap. If you're thinking nobody's really quite doing this, well, fuck it, I will.
yeah, and I think I've always had a big view on the song's mine when I write it. The song's mine when I record it to a degree because, as I'm sure you know, and people recorded, you can have whatever ideas you like. But when you get it in the studio, it tends to build a life of its own and goes off in another direction. But the moment I release it, it's no longer mine. It's the people's because it's sort of a song that will become a soundtrack to a moment in their life, or
Yeah.
from a road trip, a great summer, or what you hear on the radio driving home from splitting up, or something like that. So um, the songs are no longer mine once they go out. And as much as I love to have that control, it's the people who decide what sells and what doesn't. So I think you got to keep yourself interested in the studio, but you can't be too controlling because once it's on tape, it's on tape, and you can't do much with it at that point, really.
Yeah. So when playing live, um, how quickly do you get fed up of your own songs and want to change the set list and want to get those new ones in you're working on, and even if you've got some regulars, some fans, and maybe you've got one or two kind of hits, and
Mm.
that you feel sort of obliged to play, and maybe you don't really want to anymore. At least give them a rest for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So, A Night with Stilettos, I started writing when I was 16. And a few years ago, about this girl was living like, far away or something that I fancied. And it's all about, so I went to be with her. But I was 16, so it was all about being in nightclubs, not like being with her, I guess, and looking for other people. And it's funny because I found the lyrics a couple of years ago when I was packing up and moving. And some of the references to nightclubbing were just embarrassing. There's also far too artsy, like sweat dripping off the walls and the cigarette smoke sort of cascading up poles and also weird, daft nonsense. And but that song, was on the first album, and I think I played that in every country I've played around, and pretty much every gig has been in there. And I fucking hate it. Because I can't rehearse it now. The 3-minute song, I can't do it. I know it like the back of my hand. However, I dropped it from the set at one point because I thought I could feel that I was getting stale while playing it. I was getting bored and distracted, And at the time, probably trying to figure out who was like the guy in the real tight jeans over on the left of the stage, but people come up to me and say, like, what you dropped that song for? Like, I want to hear it. And I was like, okay. So when I realized that you have to kind of push through and persevere with songs, and so you have to find a way to fall back in love with it, whether that's acceptance or trying to play it a different way. And I think at times I medleyed it into like another song and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now it's got this special place for me in the middle of the set, really, where it's a boundary between the kind of come in hard, fast, and sort of leave you deafblind and wanting more, the mellow middle, and then need to build back up to the big end. So it's got a special place for me now. I can't think of the last time I listened to the record of it, or probably played it at home, on a rainy sort of Saturday. But it's hard changing up sets because I do some. You write a song and you go, that. Right, we've got to get this in.
Yeah.
But the strangest thing is, everything works at home. It doesn't work live. The amount of times I've done songs and gone halfway through and gone, this is out set. It just doesn't work. And it's a bit of a hard one because now with a bit of a back catalogue and the history of touring and playing, there's an expectation of what people want to hear. Even though I'm relatively young in the game, people want to hear what they know. So dropping new songs in, you've got to be careful how you drop them in. Or, if it's one that you want to have, you've got to be putting it in the right places. So changing the sets is a hard thing to do, and then remembering the songs and where they're meant to be. I don't use teleprompters, but now and then next to the set list be a bit of paper, like the first line, like the third verse, because that's the one I keep tripping up on. But I do try and change it up, particularly when I record like a new song. But then you've got other challenges, like You're Only One Dance Away. Works live because it's only the same sort of 6 chords through it. It's hard to keep the rhythm and everything going and the words. So that one's in there. I still don't quite know where it wants to sit in the set list, or where it wants to go, in terms of it playing going forward. But like Baby Mine is a natural one that lands really, really well. So yeah, new songs and set list, it's never the first night you play it, so you're like, fuck, am I going to remember the words here? Or unfortunately, if they're new ones and you forget the words, no one knows, which is the saving grace.
Yeah, I mean, because I was that guy. Like, if I wasn't really lucky enough, but if I had that, Stairway to Heaven, Smells Like Teen Spirit, if I had that song, I would have been the first to be like, we've done it. It's recorded and you're promoting, the album or the EP or whatever. That makes perfect sense. But there'll come a time, and it won't take that long, when I'd be like, no, we're done. We've done that. We're moving on. I'd be like, yes, but the people want to hear it. Fuck the people. If the people really cared about me, they'd want to hear these new ones.
I think it must be a fascinating stage in a musician's career where you get to like the Rod Stewart era, or maybe even the now Robbie Williams era, where, you know, at what point do you realise that you're just playing your greatest hits? You know, and I heard Rod Stewart talk about this, where he goes, because he's releasing albums all the time, but he goes, he knows that no one wants to hear him. People might buy him, but no one wants to hear him, so he just plays the hits live. And I think you got to have that understanding at a point where people don't want the new songs, and hopefully that's still a while away for me. But yeah, it's one of the. It's even like something when people play your own songs to you, and you sort of think, oh, okay, you know, we be at a party and someone hear that you got music out, and I put it on, and you sort of do this sort of weird thing where you're sort of like nodding along, or if it's an older one you've not heard before, you kind of go, oh, I forgot about that we did that.
What's the best? I was going to say review, but not really review. What's the best compliment you've had? Maybe somebody coming up after a gig, or maybe a review, or
best compliment. I think, I don't know. It's hard. Like compliments, really. I think it's one of those when people just go, "That was really bloody good." You know, it's the nights that you think are bad. You know, when you're playing live, you think you've fucked it, and it's a terrible gig. Yeah. And that's when everyone comes up and goes, "That was brilliant, mate. I loved it." And they want to get your social media a picture or something like that. But it's when you think you've done a brilliant show, and then you get off stage and you're buzzing, and everyone's like, "I weren't the best at." You know, best compliment though. I don't know. I don't know what the best one really is. I mean, it sounds bad to say like I sort of roll into one, but I think it's just the buzz that someone's seen you and walked away with you in their Spotify or you know a T-shirt or something like that.
So, have you ever been approached in real life? You know, you're down the middle aisle in Aldi, or whatever, and somebody's like, "It's Jimmy Maddon." They've ever come up to you and been like, "Oh, I saw your show, you know, last weekend or whatever." You know, recognised you out in the wild.
It's always when I'm in trap house carrying Tesco bags. You know, you never have when you're dressed up like this. People just think you're a twat. But when I remember being spotted once. I hadn't shaved, my hair wasn't done. I was in track pants and some broken shoes, literally carrying 2 massive Tesco bags. And someone was like, "Oh, you're Jimmy Maddon, aren't you?" I went, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I saw you played the other week." I was like, "Oh, and you want to get a picture?" I thought, you can't be kidding me. The one time that it's going to be on social media. It doesn't happen very often, no, but it happens enough that it's still very nice when it happens. Yeah, I don't think these celebrities or pop stars that carry on about, "I can't go out to a pub or something." You know the game you're getting into. I don't think I could ever get bored of it, you know. And particularly if someone's taking the time to recognise you, give them the 10 minutes to like to have a conversation. You know what I mean? So I always tend to try and spend a bit of time when I do, but no, not daily, but it has happened.
Oh, that's sweet. I like that.
Yeah.
It could happen to you, kids. It's real. It does happen.
Look, if I can make a career in this, anyone can. Well, I've always had the viewpoint: if Bob Geldof can have a hit, why can't I? And if I can have a hit, why can't you?
That's a very good point. And get that on the fucking T-shirts, man. Like, Jimmy Maddon, if I can have a hit, why can't you? Hey, but you can have that one for free. Any more advice, it costs. So, I mean, they say don't meet your heroes, but have you? Have you ever met any, you know, celebrities or musical idols?
A few good experiences, a few bad ones. You know, it's always the pop stars that haven't done much in 10 years. Always like the hardest to deal with. I met a few. I think for the most part they're quite. You do kind of get awestruck when you see him, and so even though I've sort of been in this game, plays some pretty big shows, you still do see certain people and go, "Oh, bloody hell," sort of thing. I don't know if you would ever get used to that really, but a few bad experiences like here and there. But for the most part, I think it's sort of it's been good. I think if Brian May told me to fuck off, that would probably be it for me. I don't think I could come back from that. But anyone else, they're free too.
Right. Kids, Jimmy, this is the thing we like to do here. We play a little bit, especially when it's somebody's first time. We like to play a little bit of this or that.
All right.
So, hey, so there's no wrong answers, and there's sure as shit no prizes for you, I'm afraid. But let's go with the perennial cats or dogs.
Cats.
That was easy. Yeah, cats. Do you?
I had six.
Check,
I had six at one point.
Do you when you get the chance, when you get access to a cat, do you pick it up and check the paws?
Yeah, and then cull it, despite the fact it's determination to get away from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always check always check the paws, because if those fuckers get thumbs, we're all screwed, right? Everybody knows, every fucking cat owner knows I'm right. Beer or wine?
Oh, good question. I had a big wine face for a long time, but I can see that my father-in-law's watching, so I'll say beer because he likes a good pint of brownie.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Pizza or kebab?
Pizza. I'm a real slut for pizza. It's my one vice. I'm terrible for it. Oh. If there's an option, if there's a drop of alcohol in me, it's the pizza. The idea definitely comes into my head.
It's pizza, and the good old follow-up questions of, chicken on pizza.
Pardon?
Chicken on pizza.
Chicken on pizza. Yeah. Big fan of that.
Yeah, pineapples.
Yeah, get around. Yeah, no.
Okay,
I don't understand these people.
Okay. Country retreat or city living?
City living. I can't. Look at me. I'm not built for the country.
It keeps your windswept, though, in the country.
Windswept and interesting.
Okay. Oh, would you rather go skydiving or scuba diving?
Skydiving, yeah.
Have you? I don't suppose you've ever done either. No,
not done either. I'm not a particularly big one for the water. You don't know what's in the water. I don't really like that. It's a bit.
You know what? I've heard fish shit in it.
That's the shagging it.
So I do. I'm ready to laugh. Sorry. Big parties or small gatherings?
Big parties.
Yeah. All right. Do you rather have money or free time?
Free time.
Yeah.
As a musician who got into the music industry, I don't think the answer could ever be money.
Okay. Would you rather see a puppet show or a magic show?
Magic show.
Magic show? Now, do you like the the close-up, misdirection, pick a card, any card stuff, or do you want to see the Empire State Building disappear? That kind
of. Probably the Empire State Building, only because many years ago I was on a date with a girl and I was well skinned, and I pretty much put everything I had into this day, and I had a $5 left. And as I was walking out the restaurant, we saw a street magician on the thing, and she was like, "Oh, let's go over and have a look." And they're like, "Oh, does anyone have a $5 for a trick?" And I sort of trying to be impressive to this. I was like, "Yeah, I've got a $5." So he put it in an orange and pulled it out of something else. And then I thought he was going to hand it back to me, at which point he dropped it in his hat and said, "If anyone else wants to put their tips in, they can." And I sort of watched my boss fare go like floating down into a hat. So slightly scarred by that incident. There's probably somewhere.
Yeah, and the fucker just slides off going, "That's why it's called a trick."
Yeah.
Yeah. You put me right off now. That's a horrible story. Okay. What about the silly ones? Would you rather be a vampire or a werewolf?
Vampire.
Yeah, everybody says vampire.
Got the hair for it.
Okay. A couple of controversial ones. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Never seen either.
Not bothered. Fair enough.
No, I think Star Wars would probably be the way to go, but I must admit, rather embarrassingly, that I've never seen either.
Which probably puts you in really quite an elite club, I imagine.
Yeah, it is very. So I've never seen any of the Harry Potters either, which seems to throw people like for a spin. But it was too trendy when I was growing up. If it was cool, I wasn't interested.
There's some vaguely sort of seasonal ones, apparently it's spooky season.
So I've been told.
As an old man, I call it October, but apparently it's called spooky season now. So, black or purple?
Black.
Ah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta be.
Scarier, clowns or zombies?
Zombies, I think. Yeah. I went to clown. I went to clown college when I was younger, so I probably can't really say clowns there.
Yeah, I did like 3 weeks of clown college, and they shut it down because there was only like 2 of us attending, which should have probably never got started. But I think they thought it might fill up or something. It didn't, so it got axed. So I still can't even fucking juggle.
Well, I've got a certificate in clowning around, my highest degree of education.
Oh, fantastic! In my book, that's as high. That's the highest law of the land.
Everyone's always going to need a clown.
Always. Okay, so if you had to choose, if you had to live with the Addams Family or the Munsters or the Addams Family, who are you moving in with?
Addams Family, catchy song.
Everybody, yeah, and you imagine, and you've got to do it like pledging allegiance every morning. It's a breakfast routine. Before any bacon or sausages are touched, we all, as a family, we all sing the theme tune.
I do apologise. It's going to be stuck in everyone's head now. I've been watching.
That's never apologise, never explain, especially not for that. What else have we got? We got anything else? Not really, not really. Okay, so it's pretty obvious then. We've discussed Queen would be among your big influences.
Yeah.
Queen aside, do you want to throw a few more at us?
Yeah, I mean, I had weirdly at like 14, I had a massive sort of 1950s era. So Johnny Cash and Elvis and stuff like that. You know, often their songs still kind of get rolled out and set lists out. Very rarely do covers, but every now and then when you need a bit of a good pick me up, you know, like Folsom Prison Blues is always a great one. Yeah. Like the Cars and stuff like that. Early Marillion, Fish era Marillion. Big era. A lot of those prog bands are like, it's all the classics really, isn't it? Like Rory Gallagher and Zeppelin, you know, stuff like that. I had quite an eclectic taste in music growing up. You know, I was quite fortunate. My parents both had quite broad music tastes, so you know, a bit of influence kind of come from all over, really. And I think the older I get, the more I really appreciate the blues, you know, and blues musicians and stuff like that. Which I think, every band has to. They have to have their blues era.
Yes, I think that's maybe because, you know, just as we get older, so as we've lived and we've had those experiences, far too many of them aren't super positive. But they shape us. They shape us into the men and women and whatever else you choose to be these days today. So, yeah, I think that, because I think I'm doing that as well. I'm even getting more country.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, actually, country's something that I find myself listening to probably a bit more and more. You know, I mean, my real guilty pleasure is disco, like that sort of Village People sort of disco. But the country music thing is something that the more often I hear it, the more you probably come to appreciate. Actually, it's not as simple as it sounds. They've got this great knack for, a bit like blues in a way, a great knack for making music sound easy, that actually some of the licks are not that easy to play. True,
very, very true. And I think blues, everybody knows the blues. It's like it's a common phrase, you know, having the blues or whatever. So people know that it might be a bit of a downer, but most blues songs, I feel, have a light at the end of the tunnel, you know. There's a Heartbreak Hotel, and it sounds like the kind of fun place to be. Even despite the reason you've ended up there, you know, it sounds like you're probably going to have a good night, though. Whereas I think a lot of country music, they just layer on the fucking heartbreak and devastation. And it just never ends.
You know, and they do it in such a, again, but you can, some of like the real slower countries, like, you know, the real heartbreaking ones are like, I know what you mean. You sort of think, fucking hell, like, you know, that's come out of the, you know, deep south of America or something. You know, you think, where did they come up with a line like that?
Yeah.
Here I'm scouring dictionaries and stuff like that. And they seem to have a knack for just pulling these brilliant lines out. You think, I'm gonna have to try and steal that.
Yeah, I mean, my well, maybe not my two all-time favorites, but two country songs that always spring to mind because they're not. Having said what I just did, they're not without a sense of humor. Two songs
Yeah.
that I point people towards. One of them, the title is "Mama Get the Hammer." There's a fly on Papa's head. And another favorite is "I Miss You, Baby, but my aim's getting better." Which pretty self-explanatory, but
I think you got to have fun with song names, don't you? Because I'm terrible, absolutely terrible at writing song names. I can write lyrics and music, and then he gets a song name. I got one that's being mixed at the moment by a friend called Hoovers on Mars, and there's no reference anywhere to it. But I thought it was quite a sort of desolate song, and the lyrics are sort of about like a post-breakup isolation. I was sort of thinking, like, what would be the most isolating thing you could be doing? I suppose hoovering on Mars is alone is probably that. But I was kind of trying to have a bit of fun with it. But if you look at a lot of my song names, there's no imagination to them.
yeah. But you know, you just know he's doing we're getting a video for this. We're getting a video for Hoovers on Mars, just so it can be on Mars, you know, in drag, hoovering up.
No, it's. I mean,
like
the
his
irony is I didn't even
favorites.
own a Hoover when I wrote it.
Okay, so I always like to ask this. I'm not. We've already dropped the phrase guilty pleasures, which I understand, and I use it because people understand it. I don't particularly like it. I don't care. I like what I like, and you can love me or leave me for it. I'm really not bothered. I have no, you know, I like Gary Newman as much as I like, you know, Johnny Cash or something
Yeah.
more mainstream and obvious or whatever. Um, uh, but throw an artist or two at me that maybe even people who know you fairly well or are familiar with your shows and your music might not expect you to be into. I mean,
Um, that's a good question. Uh, Nina Simon stuff like that is sort of, I don't think people sort of usually jump to. Um, Frank Sinatra probably one. You know, sort of the Rat Pack stuff, that sort of crooners type thing. I've been,
yeah.
you know, there's a fair bit of influence in that sort of stuff. I don't really know. It's a bit hard to say people I wouldn't normally expect to admit to. More soundtracks, to be honest with you. I found myself the other day cleaning the house while somewhat dancing along to the Mamma Mia soundtrack. So it's probably more soundtracks of films that are a bit obscure. I think that I tend to find myself listening to quietly. You can always tell when someone's listening to something they don't want you to know. You know, they get in the car and the song changes, or the headphones get whipped out very quickly.
Right. We're going to keep this powering along. So, do you get much time for movies and TV shows in between all the writing and performing and hairstyling?
Yeah, it's a bit of a sort of a switch off for mine. You know, it's a bit of a night owl as well. You know, it'll be sort of 3 in the morning, and I'll be watching. I like falling to bed or come down with me or something like that. Films are like one of those. You know, when you're having like a day where you just sort of switch it off. Because sometimes when you try and write something or play the guitar, it's just not happening. You know, even if you go rehearse for a set, some days, I don't know if it's a mindset thing, but
Yeah.
some days you play it for 10 minutes, it's just not happening anything. I just need a day in front of the telly. So, yeah, there's usually a film or something on in the background. So I do get a chance to watch them. It's kind of my main way of, I probably should start reading, really. But I don't know, I think maybe the attention span sort of drifting. But yeah, I try and find the time. I don't get to the cinemas as much as I would like to. But yeah, there's usually something. There's always something in the background. Usually sport as well, to be fair.
Yeah. What was the last film you watched that you'd recommend? Doesn't not necessarily a new one, but something recent, and it's just a
Uh,
cracker, and people should know.
oh, I always come back to my favorite film of all time, Rebel Without a Cause. You know, James Dean's
Wow.
great. Promoting film. It's if no one's seen it, then you need to go out and watch it. It's one of the great films of all time. One of the great actors of all time, and probably someone else who's probably been non-musically, a big influence on on me. So definitely recommend James Dean. It's only about the three of them you can go and watch anyway. So set yourself down for some 1950s brilliant.
Hey, the king of cool. I mean,
Exactly.
you don't get that moniker for nothing.
No, and probably one of the first rocks, non-musical rock stars
Yeah.
that ever came out. The king of cool. You can't. It's hard to go past him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a direct line between like James Dean, Johnny Depp, and Jimmy Maddon. It's all about James. That's my favorite film of all time. Fantastic. Do you have a favorite? Keep it somewhat musical. Do you have a favorite movie soundtrack or score?
Score. Actually, I think the Christopher Nolan Batman films just had some brilliant scores in it. But I think soundtrack-wise, the Blues Brothers. I was going to say Pulp Fiction, but I think the Blues Brothers is it's hard to go past, really. Again, it's a bit of a correlation. You're probably noticing this theme of everything before 1989 with me, but the Blues. It's very hard to top the Blues Brothers soundtrack, or and everything like that.
I'll go with that. That's a movie, a soundtrack that will always be quite special to me. We grew up with that shit, and it's just this. It's everybody who's in it is just on form. Obviously, like John Belushi, gone way too soon. Absolute fucking genius.
I think it's his last film as well, wasn't it?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably. Well, I love. We mentioned Star Wars, which you've not seen, but you know that Carrie Fisher is the wonderful Princess Leia that everybody likes, but I, like you, something we have in common. When I picture Carrie Fisher, I picture her with a fucking rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Trying to blow up their diner. That's my forever Carrie Fisher image from Blues Brothers. People seem to forget that she did anything other than Star Wars, which she did plenty that wasn't Star Wars, and it's all good.
Yeah, I think I've read too that she wasn't originally meant to be in it, but she was like a friend of Belushi's, I think, or Dan Aykroyd, and sort of did it as a favor to come in, to the sort of film.
What wonderful friends to have. One day that could be us.
Exactly. On the silver screen.
Yeah, I might get my no line walk on background part in the Jimmy Maddon story.
Exactly. I was talking about that yesterday. Who would play me in the biopic? Yeah. I suggested maybe Tom Cruise or George Clooney, but The Beautiful Grace was sort of scoffed at that idea and thought probably Rowan Atkinson was a closer fit.
Yeah, that's just. I was gonna throw that at you, but there's no need now. No, it's good though. So what would you, if because the thing that something in the pure like fantasy things you could achieve in the realms of music, just to let your imagination run riot. I mean, obviously, playing Wembley is a thing which is completely possible. People do it all the time. There's probably somebody doing it right now, so that's completely possible. But like back in the day, my ridiculous thing was if I could get one of my songs in a Tarantino movie.
Oh yeah.
Which I guess was possible, but didn't feel all that possible, and obviously never happened.
Well, it was
Well,
the Neil Diamond cover of "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon." The band who did that, he was on a holiday somewhere. I was reading about this the other day. He was in a holiday somewhere and just picked up this CD from like a second-hand record store and was just playing it driving around somewhere, and like fell in love with this cover and like tracked down this band, and they were like a two-piece from Texas or something like that. You know what I mean? They just play that local level. Next thing they know, they're suddenly in like the biggest film of the year. So, you know, strange things can happen. You know, it seems to find his music in unique ways.
yeah. I mean, so what would so how would you? I mean, oh God, I hate this question, and I keep trying to reword the question to make it. You know, just like this is not too different to the songwriting process. When I'm like, I'm always trying to. I know what I want to say, and I feel what I want to say, and I'm just trying to find the right way to say it. But so how do you sort of quantify success from it? As we're coming to the end of the year, how do you sort of, if you do at all, kind of look back in the hope that this year was better than last year, that you've moved on in some way, improved, got better, you know, become more successful?
I dare say being on this show is probably the highest success that anyone could look for. No, I think, how do I quantify success? It probably sounds a bit naff and cliche, but probably happiness, really. You know what I mean? Like, money's not a driving factor for me in the slightest. I've got no interest in having money or sort of really, you know, doing anything with money or collecting money. You know, but I think probably, probably happiness. The fact that I can end this year and then go, I've done some really, really good shows, a couple of big ones. You know, it was early in the year, I was like traveling around the UK quite a lot, so I got to see places I would never have gone. You know, and the success of the last two records that have come out as well, you know, in terms of the numbers and reaction and stuff like that. So I think as long as as long as you're enjoying it and people are enjoying what you're doing, that's successful. Because I think there's probably a lot of people that could have a big hit or get into a film or something and get the financial, you know, rewards for it, but probably wouldn't be necessarily happy with where the career is at and stuff like that. So I think the fact that I can still be doing what I want to be doing and on my terms is probably the most successful thing. It's a really hard question because I live it every day. I don't see what I've done, you know, and people close to me, and would have been the same for you, don't really sort of see what you're doing because they're just hearing about it, they see it every day. It's more when you either reflect back or someone comes up and mentions something that you've done that you go, oh yeah, that was pretty cool, that. But yeah, I don't really know how I measure success. Probably in the fact that I'm still able to do it. You know, I think what's that post that I put up the other day? Like 10 years, sort of, you know, a week and 10 years ago was like the first paid gig. The fact that I'm still, you know, running around doing it and still touring and you know, being able to go around the world with it in 10 years is probably, I could probably end my career now and say I've been successful. I've seen a lot of parts of the world that I wouldn't have otherwise seen. So I think success is a hard one to really answer, I think.
No, that's a perfect way of looking at it for me. It's an attitude that I think somewhat did me dirty in a sense. Like it's possible that I was too. I mean, I had drive, but like you said, not having monetary motivations, not chasing numbers and things like that. So basically, I have always worked within a band and trying to please the 3-4 other guys. You know, there's what they want out of it and what I want out of it were often kind of different things. Especially when you're offering, when I think like, wow, that looks like a cool venue. Yeah, let's play there. And it's like, so, you know, you're free on this. You start talking to the promoters or the landlord or whatever. You know, you start coming up with dates, and then you're asking the guys, so can you make this day or this day? And it's like, they say yeah, and then they say no, because they look at it and they think it looks like a shithole or something. And it's like, we're not that big yet. Shitholes
Yeah.
are our thing, you know. And I quite personally, I'm awfully fond of a shithole. You know, I really like dives. I like small, dark, dingy venues.
You know, it's going to be
You know,
a good show when the stage is sticky and the fallback monitors are like kicked in. You know, it's a good.
yeah,
It's going to be a good gig. You know, clean stages are very uncomfortable, uncomfortable places.
yeah. I mean, the classic quote, I think I've mentioned it before, is I was a bass player at the time. We were doing quite well. We were on a pretty good run. We had a bit of men in suits sniffing around and shit like that. It was things were going okay. Um, but when emailing and texting, you know, dates and trying to sort this tour out, the phrase which will be etched in my brain forever, I'll forget my own name and the name of my children or you know whatever, but I'll remember that this happened because when the guy said, "Christ, all my days off are becoming like band days," we were still trying to work it around day jobs, you know. And
Yeah,
he goes, all my days off are turning into band days," which I just thought, yeah, that's the point.
yeah. It's definitely a lifestyle, you know, and I kind of clocked that pretty early on that, you know, if you're going to get into this game, or probably anything where you got to put yourself out there, you know, be it theatre, music, acting, or whatever, that it has to become it's a full-time lifestyle. You know, you have to be embody of well, a rock star, but you know, it has to be you got to be on from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, and it's a personality trait that you need to have. You know, it needs to be part of your personality that you're in a band or doing gigs or recording. Otherwise, it's probably, and I really don't like this word with music, but it's probably a hobby.
Yeah,
You know, I don't, again, I don't like to use the word hobby in music because there's so many negative connotations that get thrown away with that. But, you know, I think it has to be part of your person. Like, you know, I couldn't just be Jimmy Maddon who does music, you know, on the side, or Jimmy Maddon who works somewhere
yeah,
and does a gig. You know, you have to be Jimmy Maddon, the rock star, and Jimmy Maddon, the musician in every way. And that has to be the first thing people think about. I think I've been done pretty well in that. That it's always, you know, Jimmy Maddon, the musician. Because you're right, it has to be it has to be your baby that you kind of that never grows up. You know, that you're always having to look after. Um, I think a lot of people miss that. You know, or potentially miss that anyway.
yeah. I think whatever your whatever your uh, if as an artist, whatever your form of self-expression is, you say if it's acting, if it's painting, if it's photography, if it's music, and you're committed to that, and especially when it's you're putting it out there, you're not, like I said, for want of a better term, it's not a hobby. It's not something you do in private behind closed doors, just you know to please yourself. Just oh look what I did, you know.
Yeah,
If you once you start putting it out there, that's when you know you're putting yourself out there. Even oh, as you said earlier, and I completely agree. The songs become the people's songs, but they still represent you, and it still comes back
oh yeah,
to you. And you've got to be there.
and
And there's nothing wrong, especially I'm finding in modern times when a lot of people, and it's and it's good, and I'm glad that people are trying to be sort of nicer, a little more respectful, you know, to people, more encouraging and embracing of all the great fucking rainbow flavors of humanity that we have out there, and all that kind of thing. And it's something that I found way too late is that it's okay to have a bit of ego. It's okay to, because if you're not, like I said, you've got to be the rock star. And I think
yeah,
it applies across the board, like I said, to photography, fucking watercolors, whatever it is you're doing, you're putting it out there. Be proud of it.
yeah, and I
Go
think
for it. Say this is fucking awesome, you know, and be Freddie Mercury that shit, you know.
yeah, oh, you definitely have to have you know an ego. It's about balancing the ego. But I think if you want to be the best, like I've always and will always maintain, not the greatest songwriter in the world, not the greatest guitarist, not the greatest drummer or bass player or singer or any of that. you know, the one thing I would probably say is I think I'm probably the one that hardest working. And I think it's always been the way to catch up on those who have that natural talent, that natural knack for it. But, you know, I think you have to have a bit of an ego because there's a lot of sharks in the industry, you know, and there's a lot of, it's forever moving. And if you don't think that you can be the best, you don't think that you will be the best, and believe that you're going to be the best, you know, then you're never going to be. And I've always would much rather, and I've always said, I'd rather fail and know that I failed, and I'd rather fail and go, I gave it a crack and it just didn't work out, than wonder in 20 years' time, or be that person that go, you know, it always had like a lovely, you know, people hear about them, these always had been a lovely voice, but never did anything with it.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. So I'd much rather, I see no failure in failing, you know. And failure is good, particularly in the music industry, to know where you went wrong. You know, it needs to always be, why did that song only do, you know, like You're Only One Dance Away, why has it only done 15,000 units? You know, not think, wow, that did 15, but why did that not do 20? You know, or something like that, or 16th, whatever it's on, you know. So, yeah, I think you got to be prepared to fail at something, but give it a go. Otherwise, you're just going through the motions, and you only get one chance. You only get one crack at it. So go all out and be you know, an idiot in a fur jacket, you know, sort of thing. But fail and do it, then wonder what you probably could have done, really.
And on that note, I think that's just a fucking great place to leave it. That's a word, wise words to live by. Words by.
Oh, totally words.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids, this has been an idiot in a fur jacket. No, this is. This has been Jimmy Maddon. That's Maddon. Jimmy Maddon, light up those socials. Get those follows, give him those views, give him those likes that he doesn't care about because he doesn't want your money, but just enjoy the music. Go check him out live. He'll be, no doubt, somewhere not too far away, 3 times a day if he can.
Exactly.
Very soon. Now, this is the part. This is the moment of the show you've all been waiting for. Not just because it's the end and people are sick of fucking hearing me. But because I've started a thing and I'm enjoying it, and I don't care how uncomfortable anybody else is, I'm going to continue doing it. Because when I first started doing this, the worst thing was trying to end it. Partly because I'm often just having too much fun, and if nobody specifically has to go away to catch a baby from a falling window or something important, I will just let you stay here all night. So I'm trying to get better at reining it in. And I'm also trying to get better at not just droning off and petering out, but having an actual ending. And that ending is when I will ask my guest du jour, which that'll be you, if you could just look into your camera for me, and if you could just say to the kids at home, till next time, keep it foxy.
Till next time, keep it foxy.
Oh, thank you very much, Jim. Thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you very much for having me on. Thank you. And thank everyone who's been watching as well. Hare Krishna.
We'll do this again.
Absolutely.
But as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.
Take care.